All right, beautiful souls, welcome to another session. I am so excited to have a very special guest, Amirah Hall, with us today. She is a phenomenal woman with incredible talents and gifts, and we're going to be digging into all things the spiritual journey and just whatever is meant to flow through in this conversation. You guys know how I like to do these, just let the intuition guide the show. So Amirah, why am I not able to say it?
Like a
Amirah.
miracle,
Yeah.
a miracle that we're all ready for, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh,
much for
gosh.
joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Riley. It's such a pleasure. It seems like the energy's been building and building for this moment, right? And now we're on. We started at 11:11. So how more magical can it get?
Absolutely. Well, I'd love for you to start with just sharing a bit about you and how you got to this place of offering your gifts. And I know you have this really fascinating retreat coming up. So I will dig into that more in the middle of this, but how did you get to here and just offering your gifts to the world?
I was reflecting. I'm a little Canadian girl. I'm from Edmonton originally. And I was sitting here before our call reflecting on when it actually started. When did my spiritual work, because I sometimes gloss over this, maybe because my early life was pretty traumatic and dramatic. And Riley, I remembered taking some transcendental meditation training. That was my first intro. And it really freaked me out because it was so weird and so different. And I was raised Catholic. And so that was really a little bit unsettling for me. And, this was back in 1978. Okay. So a long time ago, I'm dating myself, but it was really before its time. Okay. Especially in Edmonton, right?
Yeah.
And that didn't last for long. I noticed big changes when I started meditating. And I really Spirit wants me to emphasize that today, is that is the basis. That's where the entry point for everybody, no matter where you want to go, whether it's just your career or you want to enhance your spiritual gifts, it's the meditation. And that was crucial. That changed a lot of things for me. Then, not too long after that, I took a training called Master Key. Master Key to Riches. And it was years later before I started to connect the dots. Napoleon Hill wrote this book called The Master Key to Riches, right? And so there was this whole weekend training that I took. So that was in 79 or 80. And I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea that Edmonton was that progressive. And at the time, I really didn't think, I always felt I had to go somewhere else. So I was really amazed with that insight. And, I think it's sort of been an underground undercurrent that has been permeating through so the populace. And I think it's just starting to sort of resurrect or erupt. Are you witnessing that within your community?
Absolutely. I'm finding that the more and more people are genuinely turning to meditation, they're really realizing two things. One, that it's one thing to say the connection and the answers come from within. It's like, oh, okay, well, like, how do I do that? But then when you actually meditate and you start accessing that, it's a whole different story. It's more than just a concept now. And two, I'm finding that people are really uncovering that same thing. They thought they had to go everywhere else in the world to experience all the things, but more and more it's becoming closer and closer and more available to them, which is so fascinating. Everything's just like really opening up.
Yeah. And, being raised in Canada with nature and spending all of our vacations out at the lake and realizing now when I get a minute, I go down to the river to walk and I have a mindful meditation, a walking meditation. And so the three components I think that are so supportive, because I know everybody wants to manifest, right? Manifest, manifest, manifest. And so the key is getting quiet, keeping it simple, and aligning understanding the principles of the universe and how we attract it, and being still enough to receive it.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that's counterintuitive with our intellect. And we've all been so well indoctrinated with analyzing and trying to figure everything out. I've been labeling us as stupid humans lately because it just seems like bang, bang, bang. How much do we need to get this? But yeah, so that was the real beginning. Soon after that, well, a few years after that, I married, went to the East Coast, and then I was married an American man, and we moved to San Diego, where I continued my spiritual work. I really got into building the muscle, joined a ministerial training program, explored a lot of different modalities from religious science. For me, science and spirituality weren't far apart.
Yep.
The more I started to understand that, the more all the dots came together. Remember that the drawings join the dots? I started to see a bigger picture. And so the lights started coming on. And that's when I, had my challenges with manifesting. So I was constantly searching how to have more, right? Mm-hmm. And when it started to click and I started manifesting, then I felt something missing. There was something still missing. And that was when I started having a call. I went to Peru for the first leg of my spiritual journey. Wow. I have an Aquarius moon, so I'm always curious, and it gets me in trouble sometimes. But I heard this little voice, and it was I didn't know at the time, but it was a shaman kind of doing a chant or a do 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 do, and it kept repeating. And I'm like, well, that's weird. It wasn't like a buzz or something like that. Like a lot of people, when their clairaudient channels are blocked or when they're receiving psychic messages, there's more of a buzz or even tingling in the ears, but it wasn't that. It was a sound. It was a song. And then a friend gave me this brochure to an Amazon retreat, and I went. And I had no idea what ayahuasca was, okay? And I was like not interested. And honestly, I get there, and there I was in the middle of the jungle working with this shaman and the rest of the group. What was interesting is do you know anything about ayahuasca? Have you heard about
I've heard about some of the ceremony components of it, but I don't really know too much about it.
Right. That seems to be. And so I didn't. But I had spent a month detoxing. I was on this whole kick because in 1990, the doctors told me to go home and prepare my effects, that I had death or wheelchair choice. Wow. And so I had been adamant. I started a journey of detoxing. So this was 30 days I had detoxed. So I get to Peru and everybody else is barfing their guts out and I'm not barfing, right? But I had this massive headache. I thought my head was going to break open like a walnut shell, I swear. And they were praying on me and chanting and doing this. I didn't know what to do. And it was so intense. Well, after quite some time, maybe 20, 30 minutes, I felt this gray spiral of energy go whoosh out of my forehead. And what I got in that instant was that I had been working with a spiritual teacher, shaman in San Diego, innocently thinking that this teacher was helping me. But I found out that clairvoyantly, he was in my head. He was perched, for lack of anything technical, I'm going to say, he was plugged into my sixth chakra, my third eye, and he was sucking off the juices of my clairvoyant energy. And I mean, all this was new to me. I had no awareness that I was just an innocent person on the path. And that teacher maybe he did realize, maybe he didn't, but I was losing my psychic abilities because of that. But that loosened up. And I also got the picture and the message. I was shooting through what the words came to me was a stargate. And I came to Earth before Egypt was actually a country or formed. And I came to a place as a starseed for humanity. And all of this, keep in mind, this is 1997. I had, there wasn't much internet. I had no idea of these terms, wasn't a Star Trekkie or anything like that. And so that was like, oh, that's interesting. It's so naive. But in that moment, I knew I needed to go to Egypt.
Mm.
And again, I didn't have the money, but I figured, well, I'm so smart. If I can manifest the money, then I'll go to Egypt. And sure enough, the following year, I had the money for my tax return and I went to Egypt. And then that was, I want to say that on our spiritual awakening journey, we have rises and then we plateau and then we rise again. Some people think or are under the impression that it's a flip of a switch and we're on. Yeah. And I would say from my journey, it's not so. We have many, many levels of reawakening and awakening again, and then awakening some more.
Yeah.
And so just when we think we've got it, surprise, surprise, there's a twist or a turn. And so Egypt was magical. And that was my first journey in 1998. I've been back now 12 times. Wow. This year will be the 13th trip. Oh. Each time I go, it becomes even more, I don't know, mind-blowing. I've had experiences there of granite statues smiling at me, winking at me, whiskers like wiggling, as this cat being Sekhmet. She's a lioness face and a female body. And I have an affinity with that. So Egypt started to come alive to me. And I mean, again, I'm raised Catholic from Edmonton. I had no awareness nor affinity with it. It was like a nice story, like we study it in school, right? Or you do a report. And when I'm there, I'm like, am I losing my mind? Did I really see that? Did I really hear that? And it just shifts your perspective in what you think is real.
Yeah.
And it's a spiritual and energetic stretch through time, and at the same time, sort of connecting you to a quantum field that is beyond my vocabulary right now. Yeah. And just by walking the earth there, by stepping into the temples, it shifts your DNA. And I think the very first thing that I remember is stepping into Egypt was, I feel home. And so I know I harped on being Canadian and from Edmonton, but it's not the same kind of home. And it was pretty profound.
Yeah.
And it was that journey that I had a near-death experience. And that was another massive pivot point for me, because everything I had built up in my career, a successful sales career, that it completely fell apart. And my whole world shifted after that. And I noticed and witnessed people over the last year and a half, 2 years, COVID has been an accelerator, for many of us. Yep. to not only reevaluate, is where we're going, what's important, and who are you, right? So that's what that happened for me. And I came home and my whole life was destroyed. Wow. I destroyed it, I guess, or spirit, my whole shift was just, it didn't fit together anymore. Yeah. And I was depressed for about 9 months, so depressed. I fired my friends, fired my family. I got fired. And everything just, my hobbies, nothing resonated. I went to about, half a dozen, maybe more psychics, desperate to find out what happened to me. And Riley, they all told me something different. And wow. Man, did that piss me off.
Yeah, I bet.
So mad, because I'm like, God betrayed me. Now I don't really know what happened. So, so many things, God, where do I don't know if it's more profound, the actual experience, or when I came back. And a lot of people want to know, well, what happened? All the blood and guts part of it. Not that there was any blood or guts, but the point of it is for us waking up, we all have maybe moments or experiences of near deaths.
Yeah.
And it's like, bam, you're gonna go in another direction, And I had to figure out what the hell was going on. And after everybody gave me different answers, then it went, oh, okay, I get it. I'm mad anyway, but I got to go within.
Yeah.
The answers are from within
Yeah.
at that point. Now, I do believe, in support of the work we do, that there's some people that can guide us.
Yeah.
Give us inspiration or a clue or points to reevaluate things. But I think it's really important to be very discerning.
Yes.
Selective. That's what I want to say on that. And it took me a while before I got that lesson, and took personal responsibility. Okay, I needed a mentor to help me next. I needed someone to show me and coach me, because I figured out that I had stuck energy. That's what was wrong. That was why I was so messed up. That's why I destroyed everything. My energy wasn't flowing correctly. So either in my re-entry into the body, as my soul separated, came back into the body, or leaving Egypt, coming back to United States, somewhere along the line, I was such an open, expression, an open vessel of light, that something got in.
Yeah.
And that corrupted, I want to say, my software system. You know what that is.
Yeah.
Hardware, software, malware. That's kind of how it felt. And so then the journey started, the real work of clearing my energy. And to this day, 24 years later, that's what I help people do.
Wow.
We've got to get clear to be on our path and manifest in alignment with our higher self, and take ourselves to the next level, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Wow. I feel like we could just end it there. Like, there was so many golden nuggets and beautiful, profound lessons in that. But I want to circle back to a couple of things that you talked about that were just so powerful. One is, I totally resonate with that feeling of getting off the plane somewhere, and you almost burst out into tears because you feel like you're home, and it doesn't make sense because you're like, well, no, my house is here. That was me in Hawaii. I got off in Oahu, and I just remember landing on the plane and getting off on the runway. And I was like, I have been here many times before. Like, there is this unexplainable feeling where comfort just washes over you. Like, it is truly where you're meant to be. And what's so fascinating about what you shared throughout your journey, as miraculous and incredible as it is that there was all these points and pivots in your life where you were constantly being guided to go home. And even when you found that physical place that created that sensation for you, at the end of it was that home was always within you. And that's where you learned, okay, I get to clear my energy. I get to take all this life experience. Of course, there'll be more to come because that's how life goes. But it helps you to find what you now get to do today, which is transcending and helping people all over the world with your beautiful work. And so for anyone that's listening, understand that it's a journey. It's not, one straightforward, as they say, it's not linear, and you have to be willing to follow the nudges. The other thing that you said that was so beautiful and profound is that everything really changed when you started taking self-responsibility for what was going on in your life. And I feel like in the manifestation spiritual world, it's like, well, if you just keep praying or you just keep meditating, it's all going to work out. But I'm finding more than ever, especially now, and you touched on this when you said, COVID really opened up and accelerated this for a lot of people, the reevaluation of where are you at, who are you, what are your values, that if you're not willing to be honest with you can't expect people, things, places, bosses, money, work, life, all of it to be honest with you either. It's this truth frequency that we're all learning to lean into access, not only just in the notion of who you are in your life and all the experiences, but also in where you're going and what you came here to do. So,
And you
so
know, truth, what you think is truth might not be authentic.
yeah, true.
And
Yes.
so finding that there's subtle differences between it, because our intellect and our perception can be misleading.
Yes.
Because again, I was, reflecting back on Egypt, when I look at the granite statue, my mind says, oh, it's granite. It's solid. There's no freaking way that thing can be smiling at me. And yet you look away and then somebody else looks at me and goes, did you see that? And I'm like, wow, I guess I did. And so it's like that. It's like our perception of what we think is true for us may not be.
Yep.
And that's what's happening, is our belief systems and the programming that we've all been force fed since the day we were born. I call it matching energy. It's not force fed, actually. We've just matched. That's what we do as energetic beings. We just match the frequencies of everybody around us. And well, let's just say mom and dad, well, their patterns really don't fit or work for me in my life. I'll use me as the guinea pig, but everybody, I see that as kind of it's a global issue.
Mm-hmm.
We have to clear those energies from our previous experiences here in the body before we can shift it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love how you said that, where it's like you started to feel like you were going crazy. Like it was like, did I really see that? Because that's what happens when you go through an awakening, is like, and not just one, but all of them. Like there's always something where you're like, am I really hearing this? Like, am I seeing this? Is this real? Is this an experience? I remember when I first really started getting into deeper, like subconscious meditations, and I would get taken to these like wild places under the ocean and greeted by what felt like family, as if I was coming home for the first time. And there was mermaids and seahorses and, underground palaces. And I would wake up from these meditations. I'm like, did I just experience that? Like what? Like, wow, I didn't know my imagination was that amazing. And then a week later, there was a lady who was doing a course on bringing you back to Lemuria. And it was the exact same picture that I had seen in my mind that she was using to advertise this course that she was doing. And I sat there for probably like 15 minutes with my mouth wide open, just like, is this happening right now?
So the question is, were you there? Or were you telepathically receiving a signal from her that this was a next step for you? Was it a previous lifetime, or was it another dimension that actually exists right now? I mean, it could be all of that, right?
Yeah. And for me, like it was like, when you talk about something and then you get advertised it, how they say that's not how it works, but that's how it works. I didn't even know this person, this account. I'd never seen it before, but all of a sudden it showed up on my feed and I'm like, what is this? I don't even know what to make of this. But I love those questions because it actually even ties back into what you were saying with your teacher that you had originally had, that you found out was actually sucking your energy, not helping you. And this happens so often in the spiritual community because either people are undertrained and they just really don't know what they're doing, or they come into it with deep insecurities, or whoever's been, working or feeding off them, big ego, or it's kind of the three paths, or then there's the cults, right? So they don't present it as a cult, but it ends up being this like really dark experience.
A control experience where you're not really in charge, and you're of course victim to it. You just didn't see it, didn't know it.
Yeah. And I'm fine that's why I preach and teach so much about ethics and integrity when you're working with people and vetting the people you work with, because there's a lot of people who, and I say this with so much love because I was that person too. I found miraculous healing through energy and intuition. And so I started offering readings, and I didn't charge. I wanted to do it because I loved it and it was helping me, and it seemingly was helping others. And when I started to get into coaching with really no experience, I realized very quickly that if I was going to take this seriously, I needed to actually understand what I was doing, because I wasn't just dealing with this, oh, come join my program, it's going to be so great. It was like, I'm dealing with people's psyches, deep emotional traumas, their behaviors, their programs, their inner child, their future versions of them, and everything in between. And that is something that I see a lot of people either don't understand or don't take the time to really value in the work. And of course, that's not everyone. There's people who do incredible things and do the training and, really do lead with integrity and ethics. But for people really getting into this, I tend to find that's one of the first, handful of lessons that you learn is how do you get to work better with discernment is one of the biggest things. And I feel like there's no indefinite answer. It's just something that you continuously get shown and presented with, and your level of intuition, your heightened awareness is that ability to then continue to apply it as you feel things are off or feel things are really good, or however that comes through for you.
Well, and there's a fine line, and I think regardless, you said all amazing things and are all true. If a teacher hasn't done her work, or life coach or intuitive life coach, I mean, even if it's just 6 months, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
You can't stop. This is your responsibility to you, but to everybody else. And I know the mistake that a lot of young, early, new life coaches, intuits want to hurry up and make money, or turn this into a profitable, career, but, have a check, because in the spiritual realm, and this is where I'm walking, is it's a heart, soul responsibility. Money is way down the list.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't, and you don't. And of course, I have made a living with this. However, but you have to ask yourself, who are you putting first? And then the other thing is, if you don't have tools to clear yourself from the energies that are bombarding you. I remember when I first started out, Riley, is I'd be slammed on the sofa for a week after I did a class, because all this energy was hitting me and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have the tools, or let's call it the energetic muscle, to move it out. And it slammed me. And I don't know. I mean, that was at a time period where there weren't a lot of tools or mentors to assist me with that. So it's a little different now. But on the flip side, there are so many distractions and confusion on who do you go as a teacher or for a mentor. And I remember, I think I shared this with you before, is I was in meditation in Egypt, and I was asking about what 2012, the great big spiritual reawakening, was all about. And my guide explained to me, imagine today you're a caterpillar and tomorrow you're a beautiful butterfly. So I always reflect on that, and what a shocking difference. And what's it like to be in between? And so many of us, regardless of how far we've been on our path, are in this chrysalis. I felt it myself. I think you've been going through it for the last 2 months. It's like a re-emergence of a new you. But then the guide said to me, and beware, there will be many charlatans among you. So more than ever, we are challenged with having a high level of discernment and questioning, your motives, you're as a student, and where you're going with the work you're engaging with. So that's all.
Yeah.
We could go on and on about it, but no point.
I love that analogy, because it's very much a representation of the spiritual journey, really, in the essence of it. It's, you start as this caterpillar, and it's that stage where you're in the cocoon, the chrysalis, where you really get to define who you are. Because when the butterfly breaks out and it flies, it knows who it is. It knows where it's going. It knows what it needs. It knows what direction it's going to find.
And you can't hurry that chrysalis up.
Exactly.
And if you do, you will break or deform or kill the butterfly.
Exactly.
So when we're in this chrysalis, we're looking around like, what the hell? Am I crazy? What's going on? Nobody gets me. I've lost all my friends.
Yeah.
I've eat all the wrong foods, or I used to eat meat, now I'm a vegan, I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. And I wrote about it in my book that's newly released. This is the draft copy, but it's now on Amazon, where I talk about everything about your spiritual awakening. And I go into detail about the near-death experience, but the messages about our spiritual awakening. And that's where we're at. It's massive right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to link your book below. I love that, and how perfect. It's like, I feel like that's the thing that people really just want to understand more of. It's like, okay, I'm going to go through a spiritual awakening, or I think I'm going through one, or I am going through one. And, I kind of get the concept of manifesting and, where I'm going in evolution, but it's like, but what is this? Like, what am I supposed to feel? What could I expect to feel? What's the experience like? I feel like there's a lot of confusion for a lot of people there. So I'm excited to link your book.
And here's the thing. I remember going through it and just having to frickin' go through it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, when we start to menstruate as women, I mean, people can tell you about it, but there's no way to really understand it.
Yeah.
Till you're in it, or giving childbirth, or even getting married, or any of these massive shifts that we have in our life. Every single person's is different.
Yeah.
I know there's people that are gently awakening. They never had traumatic experience like me. When my dad died, I got divorced and I was diagnosed with, chronic fatigue. I mean, that was a massive trauma that a lot of people face.
Yeah.
Could have been COVID, or the lack of social, being able to be social, or losing your career, or all of a sudden, you know what I mean? So most of the time it is traumatic to wake us up.
Yeah.
But there are people that are at a phase in their life where they're just going, I want something else.
Yeah.
This isn't satisfying me anymore. There's got to be something more. And they're quietly, meandering, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so for any and all, got to clear the energy of the previous programs.
Yeah.
And I use special tools. I call them meditations. It's more of a guided visualization, because it gives you something for your mind to do, not to leave your body, to stay in your body.
Yes.
To maintain presence, because that's where the power that we're building this energy field to manifest.
Yes.
What's in your heart. And you'll see stuff show up and you're like, I didn't even write that down. Oh my God, how did that happen?
Oh, that's so good. And it's so aligned with where I feel like in my journey, a lot of the awareness is that, when you go through spiritual journeys, you get often taught like everything is outside of you. You obviously cultivate and co-create from within you, but it's like you're constantly being pulled out of yourself to evaluate here and go over here and look over here and travel over here. And what I'm coming to realize more and more is that that's helpful in small doses, but it's here, it's now, in the only time that exists that you create any of this. So let's start accessing that. Oh, that just fired me up when you said that.
And so what, in the work I do is like, our spirit is automatically out of the body.
Yes.
Okay. If you think of Hawaii, we all went there when you were saying that. I was soaking in the tropical gardens. So, but then it's like, you're over there. Well, some of your energy just went there.
Yeah.
So how do we maintain presence? Because the more practice that we can have, cultivate being in this moment. Okay, the spirit goes yonder. Okay, I'd like that goal. Or maybe I'd like to go to Egypt with Amirah. So you went there, but we've got to come back. And then when there's an alignment within the chakra system, the energetic flow, then that there's more of you to draw it to you. Does that make any sense, the way I said that? So it's like we want to build our energy field, because that what the spirit's exploring will automatically come back. I wanted to also say, I got a little bit distracted here. So the spirit, if we imagine a clock, I see most of in a healthy person, the spirit is about 2 hours ahead of the body.
Yeah.
Because it goes ahead. It goes ahead and figures things out. Like you saw that woman's program about Lemuria. So your spirit went ahead and got that information, came back, right? Now, most people are so far, their spirit is so far ahead. That's why they're not manifesting.
Yeah.
Or if they're full of anxiety, they're stuck in the past.
Yeah.
So their spirit is back yonder and they wonder why they're struggling is because they're not in alignment, body, spirit. Okay, when they say body, mind, spirit alignment, that's what has to happen is you're thinking and being present. Your spirit is more cultivated here. Your energetic field is here, present. It's not scattered in the past or in the future. And you're condensed. There's a condensed, and it provides natural protection.
Yes.
So I just about go crazy when people go, "Oh, I'm surrounded by the white light." I'm sorry. I hope you don't do that. I hope you don't do that, Riley. Because what it does is it's like pushing the pause button on your TV remote.
Yeah.
Okay. It slows things down and stops things, but it doesn't help you accelerate and manifest.
Yeah.
A natural, strong, healthy aura will be a natural deflector of everybody else's energy. That's where the work comes.
This is like, I hope you all have your notebooks with you. And if not, I'm not even requesting, I'm telling you, and I don't do this, but I'm telling you to go to the beginning and start taking notes. Cause this was a message I received probably around the middle of last year, was that this idea of bubbling up your energy with white light was actually just locking everything you didn't want in you. And so naturally, I love the language you put to that, because then it's slowing you down. And it gives you this false idea that you don't have control, or that in this case, you do have control over your energy. But how can you expect to have control over your energy if you're constantly walking through your day, bubbling up your field as if everything's penetrating and you don't have control? And so that was, I just love that so much, because it's true. Like there was a time and place for all these practices, but as we evolve, we have to evolve the practices, right?
They don't work anymore.
Exactly.
They don't work anymore. It's our consciousness is expanded.
Yes.
And we're stepping into, I want to say, our superpowers.
Yes.
Our superhuman self wants to come in. And if you think you need to protect yourself, then you are closing down your light.
Yes.
And that spells fear to me.
Yes.
If you are in any vibration of I need to protect, red alert, you're in fear. So who are you kidding? Your energetic field will draw everything to you like a magnet.
Yeah.
Sorry. So if you think you're gonna protect, and so all you sweet little empaths.
Yeah.
I'm an empath.
Yeah.
Okay, you're an empath. Honestly, and here's another big myth. I could get in trouble now, but Spirit's telling me to say this. Everybody is an empath.
Yes. Yep.
Freaking everybody. Why? Because we have a natural ability to feel.
Yep.
Now, some people have it really, really turned down. Some people are so freaking wide open that they suck everything in like a vacuum cleaner.
Yep.
Now, then the problem is they isolate or close down or don't involve themselves with things because they just don't know how to manage their energy field.
Yes. Yeah.
And once you understand there's nothing to fear or protect yourself from, you've got to build a muscle. That's your energy field that nobody trained you how to do, poor soul. So it's our time. We are now stepping into this phase, this deployment of a self-empowerment and learning new tools, new techniques, new teachers to robustly build this, because we do need an army of light workers that have a strong sense of self.
Yeah. Oh, like So good.
Sorry, I was channeling right.
So
It just
good.
came right through.
No, that's
Um,
perfect. That was seriously the perfect message, because that is where so many find themselves stuck or blocked, is they just don't know how to manage their energy. And to anyone listening who resonates with that, it's not your fault. We're not taught these things for a very
exactly.
specific reason. But
Yeah.
equally, just as specifically, it is your responsibility to go on that journey and discover what works for you, because what works for Tim might not work for Jane. We all have this beautiful innate ability to operate differently with some similar basic components and principles that, blanket everybody, but it's in your movement with it that's going to be different. And it really is dependent on your past, your future, your present, how you process, how you integrate, how you co-create, that you're going to find what works for you. I know a lot of people who sit in silence and meditation and they can do it right away and it works the best for them. And when they're out walking and when they're moving, that's super distracting. And then the opposite, and some who can do all the different things. So it's really just finding what works best for you, but always trying, I think, is the most important thing. Is just because one thing or one teacher or one modality doesn't quite work or doesn't quite resonate, it's like, don't give up there. The amount of times that I've worked with different people and I've learned different things and took little pieces of some things and took big pieces of other things, I wouldn't exchange or turn back the clock to take back any of the money that I've spent. It all helped me and benefited me in some amazing ways. Maybe I didn't see it then, but I definitely see it now.
Right. Yeah, I think right now I keep getting the message, keep it simple.
Yes. Yeah.
We can, a lot of times we also, as we're hungry for our new steps or what something amazing to come in, and we overindulge. We overindulge with several different modalities. And quite honestly, I've even turned clients away because they're already embarking on too many things. I said, you know what? It's going to mess things up. I don't want to confuse you. Let's wait till you finish that modality and then let's talk.
Yeah.
Because I feel that you're doing yourself a disservice and I'm going to do you a disservice, and you won't know which thing has really helped you the most. And sometimes it just layers up in a confusing, distorted way. So, of course, that's not across the board, but I feel like keep it simple. Don't overindulge. Don't be greedy. Don't be, like glutton. I know, but when we start, we want it all, and it's so juicy and yummy, but it actually can set you back. So that's the one thing I want to say is, take it one step at a time, invite it, and ask for signs. We talked about 1111. I think signs are so profound right now. They're everywhere all the time. I don't know, is it just me because I'm living in this magical fairyland? Kind of, not really. I'm grounded. I look for the magic everywhere. I've been calling on the cardinals when I go on my walk down by the river. And for a long time, they didn't come. I heard they were down there. And then one appeared, and now, like every walk, there's 2 or 3. And I'm like, they come and they sit in a branch right near the path. And it's almost like they're greeting me with a message. And so it's my little magic moment, like to see how well received my signals are reflecting. Yeah. So it tickles me.
I love that. I feel like we're definitely going to need a part 2 to this. And I love that. And it's 11:55 right now. So despite my internet troubles, I seem to have that is clearly clearing up with energy, that this conversation was just meant to flow this beautiful and divinely, because there is so much knowledge and wisdom and insight that you dropped in here that I know is going to help so many people in so many different ways, especially those of you. I feel like at this point, it doesn't even matter where you're at in your journey, whether you're beginning, whether you're in the interim of it, whether you're really in that space of expansion. Like, there was so many things that you shared where everyone will take something away from this. I truly know it. But Amirah, I would love for you to share where people can find you and what you have going on right now that they could be a part of.
Yes, it's amirahhall.com, and that's spelled Amirahhall. And I've got a virtual small group every week that they can check out on my website, and a small group of people, intimate gathering for messages and some tools. I mix it up. I play. Sometimes we learn something. Sometimes it's channeled messages. Sometimes it's loved ones. And also the Egypt tour. If you're interested to check that out, we will be accepting applications shortly. And yeah, I've got a new book, and I'm so excited, Ashley. I don't, Riley. Who's Ashley? Do you have an Ashley in your life? There's an Ashley coming in.
I have a girlfriend that's named Ashley.
Okay, there's a very strong message from Ashley, so you maybe need to call her. But I just launched, it's brand new, fresh on Amazon, a component journal for the spiritual awakening community that's guided and prompts in it. And I've got a coloring book with inspirations on for spiritual awakening people. So that just went up on Amazon a day or two. So check those out. They are on my website. You can check those out. So yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I will definitely make sure to link all the things below so you guys can go be a part of her world. I highly recommend that you take the time to go and let her know what your takeaway was from this episode. It's so wonderful having guests on, and we always do appreciate getting the feedback from you guys. So go and reach out to her and let her know what you took away that really inspired you or touched your heart or just resonated so deeply at this time, and send her that love.
And one last thing, I'm so sorry. To help everybody out to clear their energy, I have a stress buster. It's a free download guided meditation. Just start clearing your energy field, no matter where you're at. It's a great add-on to your current practice or any other tools that you're using. It won't conflict, I promise. So sorry about that, Riley.
No, perfect. That's good. That's awesome. I'll make sure to have it there for them as well.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
you so much. Everybody, with all my heart. I'm just so thrilled. Thank you so much.
Yes, and you have a wonderful day.
I sure will. And you too. Blessings, sweetie. I'll talk to you soon.